Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Plus One interview. And today we are joined by Andover head coach, Mr. Jay Fielding. What is going on?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for taking the drive on 95. I know it's not the easiest,
It's all good.
especially during this time of the day. But we are here, got to talk a lot of football, some camps. But first, how's everything going with you?
Things are going good. It's been a busy spring. Launching into summer, obviously, we got all the showcases going and running the strength and conditioning with the high school. So
Right.
definitely a lot going on.
Right, the life of a head coach is such a 24/7, 365-day job.
Yeah, it is.
On top of everything else you have to do during the day with, in your personal life, right? How are you able just to, compose yourself and be able to put forth a schedule that you can have some time for yourself when you can?
Well, I absolutely, honestly, first of all, I love the rush. I love being busy. I'm one of those people that I do very well when I have 1,000 things going on. So this just falls right into that. It definitely has been a lot being a full-time head coach and also being the full-time owner of Pact Performance. But
Right.
just try to keep things day by day and live in daytime compartments with my memo pad, just getting things done. Sometimes you miss things, and sometimes you just try to attack them the next day. It's a lot, though.
Right. It's such a grind. Everything is such a grind, too, especially on running your own business aspect, because people that run their own business, there's highs, there's a lot of lows, and stuff in between, but that's, what's that rush like when you're trying to establish something and making it, not only making it big locally, but getting it out regionally and then nationally.
Well, we're in our 5th or 6th year, so it's finally starting. I don't want to say it's running itself. There's obviously peaks and valleys every single day, but I have a strong enough team now where I can delegate, and I have a lot of good people that I trust. And a good system's been created. Like, we launched our summer field sessions last night, and you get nervous and stuff, but after coming from 800 kids at the Bone and helping my friend Steve Martin doing that,
Right.
my girlfriend's out there, she goes, "Oh, you have a baby camp compared to this. I don't even know why you worry," right? Where
Right.
it took us 25 minutes to do the registration, and they have such a well-oiled machine with the Bone camp. Like, the way those guys set that thing up is remarkable. And with us, it's just like a registration table, hire all the coaches, bring in
Right.
elite guys. But it's still a lot of work. But at the end of the day, just getting better with staying on top of things and just kind of going from one thing to the next. I mean, as soon as I got down, putting down the Merrimack Valley Conference Showcase and doing that, it was
Right.
like, yep, help out for the Bone. And also at the same time, while this is going on, you're starting to promote and sign kids up and start the
Yeah.
calendar for the Packed Summer Field Sessions with running the strength and conditioning at Andover at the same time.
Right,
So
right.
it's a lot, but I love it.
And the great thing is you got the people behind the scenes that believe in the vision too, that are there. Some are there just to volunteer their time to help because they see the vision. They want to see these kids grow. They want to see you do your thing and grow it. Right? How's that? The impact that you get when you having like people, they might see a social media post of a workout that you've done with the kids, and now they want to find some type of way to help out, rather it be just to bring water or volunteer their time to help you with miscellaneous things that you need, right?
I think the biggest part of all that is just connecting with people, like being able to leave the best of New England and to become a part of that after 3 years. I went out there 3 years ago as a volunteer, and now,
Right.
getting kind of bumped up to being somewhat of a field coordinator this year, helping facilitate the linebackers. And at the end of a camp like that, you see 800 kids get showcased, and I'm sure some of them leave like, "Oh, I should have got an offer," but to see kids' lives changed in the sense that a kid personally I knew received 2 Division I offers that day.
Right.
And he was a kid last year that was told by the college coaches, just keep grinding, just keep doing this. And he stuck to that plan, and he comes up to me at the end, and he's all excited, and he goes, "I just got Stonehill, coach." And I shove him, right? And I go, "Get over here." And I give him a hug, and it's like, then it hits you, right? Because I'm exhausted. You go right into the camp, sleeping for 4 hours, getting ready for it. And then he calls me at night to tell me I got the Georgetown offer too. So it's like all the hard work
Right.
is worth it in those moments. And to see the kids say thank you and shake your hand after a showcase, it's awesome. I'm all in. So I love that stuff. It definitely makes it worth it.
Right, and even with that too, if we go back to the Merrimack, the showcase you put together, I left there and I heard at least like a couple kids So they got offered in that after that tournament. They didn't have any offers going into that one,
Yeah.
and these kids are going into their senior year, right? So the excitement and just the happiness on their face when they're seeing that hard work is paying off, and being able to go into senior year knowing there's you just got an interest and you just got an offer, so that could kind of ease your mind into playing. Because I know some kids going into their senior year when they don't have the offers yet, they might stress a little bit going into the season, but usually things always work out if you just do the right thing and keep doing what you've been doing, to get to the point you are in your life, right?
Absolutely, and to add to your point, if things absolutely do work out, if you just put your head down. And I remember a kid who got an offer, a Division II offer, AIC, and he was excited. It made his night. And I remember the day after I got hired, he sent me a message saying, "Coach, I'm really behind with my recruiting." I don't even think he had a Twitter set up. And I helped him get Twitter, start promoting, and then you put this thing together. And I don't think people had an idea what the showcase was. I mean,
Right.
I had a couple coaches in the league asking if colleges were going to be there at the college showcase. I had another coach ask me if he was sending his college-committed kids to compete in the showcase. People from outside the league thought we were going to have like a tournament just with the high school team.
right.
So me being familiar with working all these showcases, I knew what we were going to deliver as a league, but other people didn't have an idea, and they were kind of like, "This is impressive," but I knew what we were going to put together with
Right.
the showcase. And then the kid from Lowell getting the UNH offer.
Chris?
Yeah, Colin Christensen was
Colin, yeah,
icing
yeah.
on top of the cake. And so now that legitimizes the fact that if you come to the Merrimack Valley Conference Showcase, which we'll have every year, there's a chance you
Right.
can receive an offer. And then on top of that, just the biggest thing was being told by parents the next day, above the football stuff, is them telling me their kids came out of their shell socially
Yeah,
and
that's the
introduced
biggest
themselves
thing.
to
Yeah.
colleges and shook hands. And, I see kids that appear to be confident walk around all day after the showcase. They're like little kids. They're like, "Coach, what do I do? Do I just go up and introduce myself?" I'm like, "Yes.
Right.
Go up to every college, shake your hand, introduce yourself. Even if you're a rising sophomore, plant the seeds, get your name out there now."
Right.
So that's the bigger thing, is it's all encompassing, just trying to get these kids some tools socially as well.
Yeah, to understanding how important that networking is, because being at that Merrimack Valley Showcase too, even myself, I'm walking around, I'm just talking to people too. I'm in the back of the end zone. I'm with one of the URI coaches, or I don't know if he was a coach for URI or whatever affiliation he had with URI. Me and him were just conversing and discussing, and he basically was like, he's here for the one-on-ones. That's why he's there. He was there to see the one-on-ones and to see he was looking to give someone an offer right there, or tell somebody that he's got an interest with them. So that's the important part, is them kids never know. They never know who's watching, and you always got to be able to be ready for the opportune moment to just seize it, especially for something like that, because it's rare for the public schools to have something like that. The preps have it. They did their things with it, but I think that was the first one I've seen from like a conference, like MIA conference, to do that. That's the first one I've seen in a while.
The guy, Sean Terrier, who's the new Billerica head coach, he had a showcase. I think he started 2 years before at Danvers, but it was like a mixed match of kids from all over. They might have had 3 schools from the Merrimack Valley. This one was United, where I reached out to all the schools, and I think 10 out of 11 schools were on board, had a coach there, coaching there, and
Right.
were open to the idea. And, I just told these guys, too, that this isn't like a luxury. We have to do this in order to stay competitive in today's market of, you have to recruit your own kids.
Right.
You have to recruit your own kids from town, because there's so many schools that have advantageous stuff going on with prep schools doing well. And I think the misconception about some of the interviews on the Merrimack Valley Showcase, which you did an amazing job, without your coverage, none of that stuff happens. That
Right.
stuff is important. Kids getting interviewed on
Definitely,
Twitter
definitely.
because it gets their name out there and stuff. So was some of the guys taking shots at the prep school guys. Without the prep schools starting their showcases in Connecticut and Mass,
Right.
we wouldn't have the idea to do this. So I'd like to give those guys credit
Yeah,
and stuff
definitely.
like that. But and even Mark White from Zavarian, him and I were on the phone coordinating, helping each other out. So it's not this cutthroat, like, you're the Catholic Conference, we're the NBC,
Right.
stay the hell away from our kids. It's like everybody raises each other's level. And like I said to you before, he asked me to come out 2 days before. He's like, we're kind of in a bind. Would you mind coming out and coaching the linebackers? And I work with a lot of kids in the Catholic Conference, training them. I'm like, I'm there. So it's everybody helping everybody out for the betterment of the kids.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, there's still some territorial coaches out there that are like, there was one guy who said, this is a stupid idea, the showcase, right? And I'm like, well, if it was stupid, why did Harvard come? Why did UMass come? Why were there big schools there? So...
Yeah, I mean, hey, man.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens.
Of course.
It's just something you got to deal with. You're just like, okay, if it's stupid to you, not to us. Whatever.
Yep.
Whatever. With that Catholic Conference Showcase, that was their second year in a row they did that. And I think also with their conference, from the first year to this past one, the participation grew. There was way more kids this year than they were last year.
They did a great job this year.
Yeah.
And the schools that were there had to have been 60, 65 schools. It was impressive.
Very impressive. Yeah, also
Ivy League.
Yeah, because they were. As I was there the first one, and you're right, there was a lot more colleges there this year than the last year. But that also just shows the amount of talent that there was. Even the last year, their first year, there was so much talent that they had there, and you bring back. Now you got rising sophomores, rising juniors this year and stuff. So it was great. And what I like to see is like the networking those kids did amongst each other. They talk to each other. I mean, some of them probably going to start working out together in the summer or something like that. But that's also a big part. You compete against each other during the season, but it's that off-season workout regime that you put together and just building that relationship, because you might end up being teammates in the next couple of years, right?
Yep. And see, I think that's cool because we were all on the same team for a night with the MVC pride and the coaches, and everybody puts their walls down. And the next week we're at a 7-on-7 and our kids are ready to fist fight. And I go, oh, that's it. We hate each other again.
Right.
Right? And I'm huddling my kids up and I'm like, guys, this is 7-on-7s. It's basketball with grass. Like, I don't care. I want you to compete. I want us to get in our coverage. But, like, we're not getting in a fist fight with another school. Like, it's tackle in the fall. That's when it's going to matter. But, like, all that MVC pride and high-fiving and cheering each other on goes out the window. The territories are back up. But for a night, it was good.
But that's the competitive nature of the sport, right? These guys, they'll compete. They'll compete for the little things too. They'll want to fight each other if it's just a little competition for nothing. It's just you see somebody that's not from your school, you line up against them. That's when those those competitive juices you can never take away. This was the last month or so, beginning of May, the last 2 months, the last month or so. So many showcases that went on, right? We're seeing more and more of this. And talking to Coach Silva, who runs was part of the Prep Red Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Does the writing for them. When I talked to him, he said, these are big in the South. These are big. They do this. In the South, they do it frequently. So having it in the Northeast, having it in New England, it was so important for all the players, and not only the players, the coaches too, just to see how better their players are getting during the off season, and they could kind of have a good evaluation for them when they come in during when training camp starts and going into the season. Right, for a head coach, for you, just what's kind of your perspective on that aspect with these showcases?
Oh, I think they're amazing. I think that it's important because it definitely highlights the kids that have been working, and it also sends a message to the kids that haven't been working, right? Mm-hmm. There's nowhere to hide when you go to a showcase, right? You have kids show up at a showcase. I mean, there was over an hour of individual drills the other day at the Best in New England camp. If you showed up to that thing and you haven't been training, your hands are on your knees. You're not performing, you're trying to survive. You're not showing technique. You're just trying to get through the day without passing out.
Right.
So I think it's a good evaluation test for us. And Roger Silva's a good dude. I've worked with him for like 3 years. I always see him at showcases. He sees us. I worked his Combine series.
Right.
He came to the Merrimack Valley Showcase.
Yep.
He's all about the kids. That's what I try to work with people that have ultimate credibility, because it is all credibility.
Yeah.
When I'll talk to Roger, if he calls me, I'm like, this kid has 6'3" on his Twitter. He's really 6'2". Honestly, you gotta be honest with this stuff, because once your credibility goes, the colleges no longer trust you, and then your evaluation isn't warranted anymore. So, but he does a great job, and a lot of the rankings he's doing for these kids are helping them out and helping them. Everyone has their part. Mm-hmm. It seems in New England, and look at M2. Look at all that stuff. You can't tell me that guys like M2, Trevor Knight, Quarterback Academy, haven't. Helped upgrade the area. 10 years ago, kids weren't passing for these type of stats at all.
We got to get M2 in here too. I got to get him in. I got to get him, bring him in the studio.
Yeah.
Could talk
Trevor
about,
Knight too. Trevor
yeah,
Knight's
we got to
really
get
good.
these quarterback developers in here because, as you said, M2, all the quarterbacks he's worked with, I think last season all of them were either first team in their conference or got an MVP in their conference or did something great during that season. I mean, every single one of the quarterbacks he worked with had a major season last season, and probably it's going to be the same thing. And speaking of Coach Silva, I mean, the way me and him connected, I think the first time I saw him was at a St. John's Prep game a couple years back or so, and then we started following me on Twitter. We started following each other on Twitter, and then he started asking me for some film on some Lynn guys and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just, I would send him stuff. Even when he don't ask, I'll just send him.
Yeah.
If I go to a game and someone has a great game, I'll just send it to him, and he'll post it on his Twitter. He'll do his research, and he might pop up to a game and just check them out in person. So yeah, he's really a good guy to know. We gotta go way back for you, right? Let's go way back. For the love of the game. We know you love football. Football's been part of your whole life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Been part of football a lot. What got you in? What made you fall in love with the game? And what got you? When did you start with playing the game?
I started playing at 7 years old. I grew up in Lawrence, and I remember I started hockey late, and I had like the crate. I couldn't get up. I couldn't skate. And my father's like, I remember him saying, you started this late. Probably not going to be very good, but I got a sport for you might like. It's in your blood. All your uncles and I played it. We'll sign you up for it in the fall. And I remember playing football, and I remember honestly being miserable, going to practice every day, and it was hard and dreading it, right? Had some fun in the games, but I just remember the grind of having to go to practice and dreading it and wanting to quit, and every practice was hard, and doing hitting drills and playing in Lawrence. And we didn't have a lot of success when I was younger, right? We had some really bad seasons. And I just remember kind of crying as a kid. And just the life lessons my father started instilling me. He's like, if you don't want to play next year, that's fine. You're not quitting. You're finishing the season. You don't quit. You don't quit stuff mid-season. And just kind of those lessons. And I kept going. And I just remember we had some tough kids in Lawrence. We didn't learn much technique. It was half the guys over here, half the guys over there. You threw one side of the ball, and you just ran into each other for an hour, right? And it was hard. It was playing West Lynn, coming down here for scrimmages, right? Going to Everett, playing all those teams, Bill Ricka, Chelmsford. And I remember just staying with it, and I just loved the grind of it. Like, I played all sports. I played basketball. I was pretty good at basketball. I was decent at baseball, but I just loved the grind of it, and it just gave me a sense of purpose, and I just fell in love with it. And then I just wanted to go to Central Catholic ever since I was a little kid.
Right. What point in that, as you're playing, practicing, dreading and hating it, but what point did it click? Did it click for you? Like, okay, I'm understanding the game. I'm seeing the results now. I'm getting a little better here. I'm getting a little better here. Was there somebody that was kind of evaluating you? Was it that your dad kind of telling you which aspects that you're getting better at, or was he just being the dad and supporting?
I think
you
it was tough
aspect?
sometimes. Like I train kids that have parents that were in the pros, and the father will call me like, he doesn't listen to me, Jay. I need to get him with you. I'm just dad to him, and I'm like, really? You played in the pros? But he's like, I'm just his dad. He won't listen to me. He just goes, yeah, dad, whatever. So I don't want to say it to my dad out, but I had one Pop Warner coach before I was good telling the other kids, like, this kid's coming from baseball. He was in the cities, and if you're not ready, he's going to knock your head off. And he gave me confidence. And the confidence was there before the ability, and I dominated. I might have been like 9, and it clicked with me, like, the sense of how much a coach's confidence in saying, I believe in you, can help you as a kid. And I had a great year. And then I went through some more adversity because they bumped me up to the B team from the D team. I skipped the C team, and I got humbled again. And I was low man on the totem pole, but I stuck it out. And that was the lesson, just continuing to show up when I was miserable. And that was a big part of everything, just showing up. Never missing practice, whether I was miserable or not.
Right. And now you're growing, you get to high school, going to Central Catholic. Hey, what prompted your decision to go to Central Catholic? Was Lawrence High an option, or was there,
Well, most of my family went to Lawrence High, but the biggest knock with Lawrence High was there was never any coaches that ever came down to our Pop Warner. There was never any feeder system. There was never a coach that said, hey, Fielding, your your father played. We want you to come here and be the next great. There was none of that.
Gotcha.
And I just remember reading about Central Catholic in the paper, and I'd have my dad drop me off in 7th and 8th grade by myself, and I would stand in the end zone and just watch them play. And that compete level and how good they were in the crowds and all that stuff,
Right.
I was attracted to. So I absolutely wanted to go there, and obviously to get out of Lawrence, and then that I just wanted to go to Central.
Right. Through your years there, I mean, what was that like playing there 4 years, and what was kind of some of your memorable games or memorable teammates that you had during your time at Central Catholic?
I would say first off, going to Central Catholic, I remember being petrified because the myth was you're never going to play. There's 100 freshmen that go there. And when I went there, I wasn't quick, I wasn't fast, but one thing I could do was hit from all those hitting drills in Lawrence.
Right.
And once we got the pads on, I remember just my father, good advice now, right, with all the concussions. He's like, hey, you got no family lineage there. You know how you're going to stand out? You're going to make noise when you hit with the pads.
Right.
Right? So I stood out. I could hit. I started. I had some success. And then I actually failed off the team my freshman year. I got 2 Fs, right? I didn't ask anybody for help, which was a major life lesson to me is when I talk to these kids about communication kills all conflict, right? I'm talking to myself too. I failed out. I didn't get to play the last game my freshman year, and I had to do academic support. But I had a great head coach, Chuck Adamopoulos, been one of the greatest life mentors I had, and I ended up coaching under him for 11 years and coaching with him for the last 2. I was one of his captains, but he was really, really hard on me. And from that day on, he stayed on me about academics. He stayed in my corner. Even when I got in trouble, he never bailed on me.
Right.
And we had some really good years. My junior year, we were 9-2, but I remember probably the best memory we had, we were at the stadium against St. John's Prep. I think they were like 18th in the country. They came in, we held them to 95 yards and shut them out 14-0. And that was my first game starting at linebacker as a junior. And I had 13 tackles, and I'm coming in the next week thinking I'm like the man, and I just remember getting screamed at on film like, you can't get off a block if you play like this against Chelmsford. But the standard was set that it was like, we're moving on, and it's about the next game, and there's always room for improvement. It wasn't like, we just beat the best team. It was always room for improvement and getting better, and that was the standard.
Right. And in that part, in failing off, do you, after missing a game, right? You go into your next season. You go with the mindset with, that's not gonna happen again. I don't ever want to miss a game again. I don't ever want to be off a team again. And did that excelled you to take the academics more seriously? And as you said, communication. You started communicating more when you needed help.
It was embarrassing. I remember we got our report cards on a Friday. Ironically, the last game of the year was against Andover. They said you can continue to practice with the team, but you're not eligible to play. The decision is yours. You can turn your pads in. Obviously, I said I'll practice. I'll be a good teammate. But I had to sit there in my jersey and watch us tie Andover as a freshman, and then I was academically ineligible for basketball season. And at the time, I was a better basketball player, so I had to go to academic support every day till 3:30 to get my grades up. And what it did was it made me leave no stone unturned. I went for help every day, before school and after school in algebra. And honestly, I think the guy just got sick of seeing me and harassing him, so he just gave me a C+, right? But I wasn't the best student academically, but it instilled that work ethic in me that was like, don't make excuses, show up early, leave late, and get that stuff done. And it was a major life lesson. I was never academically ineligible again, but it was a good life lesson for me as a freshman.
Right, and that also goes back into one of what you were talking about also is never quitting. Your dad telling you never quit during the season and stuff like that, right? Because you could have easily, when you failed off, you could have just easily been like, whatever, forget this, right? But you use that as a motivation moving forward. A lot of people, they're gonna go through something like that academically, but did that, first of all, how do making your parents proud in that aspect when you failed off, but then you get back and now academically you're better than you were when you got to the school, right? I mean, what was kind of your parents' reaction to that? Because parents want the kids to do their best academically, right? When they're seeing you now doing your best, what was kind of their reaction to that?
No, I think they were proud. I think that I had a lot going on, and like I said, just the type of person I am now, I think I'm very well fitted to be an entrepreneur, teach, be a head coach with a lot going on, and I have a creative mind. Like I want to, this hasn't been created, let's start it. Wow, but that's kind of crazy. Who cares? Let's do it and let's make it better. But at the time, high school was a grind for me. I had some personal stuff going on, and they were absolutely proud. And the one thing about my parents is they just always told me, you can do anything you want. You can put your mind to. We believe in you, and they never gave up on me along the ride. And the main thing for me was throughout my life is I'm not just in this because football's a fad for me. It's been like a huge coping mechanism for me, and I love the game, and I've learned a lot of my life lessons through it. Obviously, I learned some stuff in academics, but a lot of my life lessons came from the game of football and sports and just being tough and stuff, because if you weren't tough, you weren't going to make it out of Lawrence. And just the way I was exhausted every single day and I didn't want to go to practice is the same way I feel as a grown man now, and I don't want to go to work. You just go to work.
Right.
Up until this year, I didn't miss two to 3 days at work. You just associate what you learn in football and practice and strength and conditioning and those life lessons with what you're living in today. So it's always helped me.
Right. Going into college, what was the college process like when you was trying to figure out what's your next step after Central Catholic?
Well, I was one of those guys that thought I was going to Penn State, right? Even though I was 5'10", 200 pounds, ran a 4.8 40, thought I was under-recruited, thought I got screwed, all that stuff. And the recruiting was what it was, and I was at a powerhouse program, but I was a little upset. I was stubborn. I thought I didn't get a lot of resources with recruiting, but it wasn't my coach's fault that I didn't score high on the SATs or that I didn't get a tutor, and it wasn't his fault that my GPA was low. So I was guided toward like the state schools, and the best game I ever had, I think, was like 16 tackles, and Merrimack was there recruiting a kid, Chris Byrne from Tewksbury, who ended up starting at Northeastern. So they happened to see me having a good game, and they had some interest. Assumption had some interest. But I ended up at Westfield State, and I just remember being like, I'm better than this place. And I went up there as a freshman, and my uncle was like, dude, just because you're going Division III, don't think you're above it. I'm like, I was a 2-year starter in the Merrimack Valley. I was all conference. I got this. I went up there my freshman year. I was doing the choice fitness workout, just doing upper body, running sprints. I didn't know how to train yet, and I went up there and I got humbled. I didn't start. The head coach had told me though when he was recruiting me, he said, I'm going to shoot straight with you. He said, you're our #1 recruit. You will not start as a freshman. I have 3 senior captains. You will not start as a freshman. It's going to be your team as a sophomore if you do the right things, but you won't. You'll amaze me if you come in and start. I went up there, I got humbled. I played some special teams.
Right.
Like, I was getting tossed on my back, and I came back, I was like, I can't let this happen. Like, I'm embarrassed. I learned how to train.
Right.
I linked up with a friend from high school, and we started pushing each other through the limit, focusing on, we followed his Sacred Heart program, and that was the first summer I really learned how to train, and it was like self-taught strength and conditioning, and that's when I started to get confidence and good results.
Yeah. Were there any upperclassmen that you learned from during that when you first got there?
The seniors.
Those senior captains that the coach was talking about.
They were really hard on us. They were like. Like the military, they broke you down. I remember camp was like 17 days straight. I was out of there. I was ready to quit. I was hanging around with some guys who were like me. They got screwed, right? They were like, we got connections at Bryant. We're out of here. None of us were playing at Westfield State, but we're like, we're getting out of here. We're going to leave. And we were going to get picked up, but our ride never came, and I was ready to quit. And I'm glad I stuck it out and ended up playing special teams. And then Jim Fenley, Rick Colburn, Ryan Togneri, who I think he's a U.S. Marshal now. They were really good seniors to us, and they took us under their wing. And then they were just gone, and it was our team. We had one returning senior my sophomore year,
Right.
and we were awful as sophomores. We won 1 game, so it was a lot of growing pains. But I ended up starting as a sophomore and had a really good year.
Yeah, and these are all processes you're going through, right? So you beat one challenge, you got through over at Central Catholic. Now you're in college, you got another challenge. You guys are just won 1 game. You guys graduated a bunch of leaders. Now you're taking over the team. Now you're learning to be leader of essentially young men in college, right? Some of them might have kids already, but you're the leader of men. So how were you able to take on that challenge? And what was kind of some of your, after that 1-win season, what was the off season like for you to ensure that didn't happen again?
It just got better, and I just was self-taught. One thing I absolutely got from Central Catholic was the lifting part. I mean, my head coach was like, "Oh, you're playing basketball? Good. I'll open the weight room for you at 5 in the morning." Like there was no excuse for you to run from. And we lifted in the morning, and he'd make us pancakes on Fridays, and I had a really good lifting program there. So we lifted, we tested. I mean, he was 25 years ahead of the game. We always had a good program. And in college, it was the same thing. I would force myself to take like a weekend off, and then I would get right back into it with lifting and strength and conditioning. And I remember getting in trouble from my college head coach because I organized 2 mandatory days at 5 in the morning with 80 guys in the gym of lifting. And he's like, "We're going to get in trouble with the NCAA." I'm like, "I don't care about that." Like, we didn't even have a full-time strength coach. It was kind of sad, but I wanted to instill that. And I was always all in with training and stuff like that. And then it just made me more confident. I would come home, I would do speed school, stuff like that. They had that going at Lawrence High School. My uncle was a coach at Lawrence, so I would do speed school, I would do training and stuff like that.
Right. So how did the rest of your time at Westfield State play out? Right.
It went good individually. I mean, our best year as a group was 7-3. We had a lot of talent, kind of wild off the field, to be honest with you. But me personally, my junior year was my best year. I led the country in tackles, every division. I had 15.7 a game. Going into my senior year, I was a preseason All-American. After that, I won Defensive Player of the Year. I was all New England Division II, Division III twice, 3-time All-Conference.
Right.
So I had a lot of success. And again, I got a lot of confidence because I was a late bloomer, and I ended up having a lot of success through hard work, through training.
Right.
And yeah, that was it.
Right. In college is such an important part for people that do go there. College is it shapes you into a lot of ways. There's so many things that college can provide, right? What were some of your takeaways from Westfield State and some of your connections that you made from Westfield State that you still keep in contact with now, or that's kind of helped you along your way in your path, to be where you are today?
I've lost touch with a lot of the guys. Some of the guys I still keep in touch with. Some of the guys are coaches. One of them was at our showcase, which was cool to see. But for me, it was like I fought accepting the role that I'm in now. Like I try to go into business. I try to go into network marketing after college. But essentially, I knew deep down I wanted to do something like this. But I kind of let other people label me like, "You can't make football a full-time career, Jay," and stuff like that. But this is where my passion is. And then I got right back into coaching. I was up there finishing my degree again for a 5th year, and I was defensive coordinator at Ludlow High School. Again, 0-11. That was my first experience. We were
Ludlow out there in Western Mass, right?
Yeah, we played Springfield Central. We had like a Chicopee, all those schools. Yeah. I coached there, then I went right back into the Merrimack Valley, and have been coaching since.
That's a great transition. Andover, you coaching Andover High, great program, good history. Praising the previous head coach who was, he did a lot of great things, right? Going into this position, what's kind of your mindset that you had going into this position, knowing kind of like the history of the program?
I was reluctant to even apply for the head coaching job. I think sometimes when you're at a place for so long as an assistant, you're just dialed in on your daily responsibilities. And I had been at Central Catholic for 13 years, running the scout team, linebacker coach, doing the strength and conditioning, helping out with that. And then the last 2 years, defensive coordinator. And then jobs have come up. I mean, I had a couple of people reach out to me like, "You should put him for this prep school, 3 or 4 public schools 2 or 3 years ago, and then another school in New Hampshire. But nothing really moved me. And then good amount of people from the town of Andover reached out. They're like, "I think you'd be a good candidate for this job." And I didn't even entertain it. I'm like, this is sacrilegious. This is Central Catholic's rival. I grew up hating them, right? Like hate, right? And that's not an exaggeration. The word is hate, right? So I didn't even want to put in, and I was nervous to even bring it up to my head coach and my old coach or whatever. And then finally I was kind of like, man, I owe it to myself. I don't want to regret. How many times is a job like that going to open up where it's a great job?
Right.
It's a really good job. It's a really A+ job. So I finally put my name in for it and decided to go for it.
Right. You're getting ready for the season. A head coach, once you get the job, it's kind of like you got to kind of take off and there's a lot that goes in it, especially with football. You got to meet with the kids. You got to set up the program as far as like weights, conditioning, the off-season regimen, right? Before you got it, did you already had in mind what kind of the off-season regimen was going to be before you got the job?
Yes, like that stuff for me isn't that challenging. Like the strength and conditioning, stuff like that, like setting up the 7-on-7s, the player development. I think that's where I really excel. Mm-hmm. Putting a staff together, I have a really good staff so far. It's not full. I mean, I thought I was going to get my dream staff year one, and what I'm finding is it's really hard to get it year one. Right? It's challenging, but I think I've done a great job as far as retaining some good guys that were on the staff in the community, and also bringing in some fresh new blood, as there was change that the community wanted. Right. Still have a couple more positions to fill, but I feel really good about the direction we're going in. But I think 3 weeks ago was the first time I went over the scheme and X's and O's, and it was like, oh, this is awesome to get in the football stuff. It's been meeting with the boosters, finding out the summer schedule, getting all the kids on the Remind app to send them messages, getting all the parents' email, filling the practice schedule, filling the scrimmage schedule, all the administrative stuff that goes with being a head coach, that it's like, oh, yeah, I get to actually call plays, too, as the DC, and the fun stuff, right?
Right. It seems like the folks in that Andover community, it seems like whoever was going to be the head coach, they were going to be all in and support them. And it seems like, is that one of the key things into having a really good, successful program, is the people in the community just buying in, finding ways to help, and just being there as a hub of support, not only for the coaches, but for the players as well?
Yeah, I think first off, it's a great community. I absolutely do have big shoes to fill. EJ won over 100 games, EJ Perry. He's turned out a lot of successful kids. He ran a successful program with a very competitive schedule, playing in the Merrimack Valley Conference. So he's done a great job. Connections everywhere. Very competitive guy. So I know I have huge shoes to fill. And I think it's the new coach's job to bring the culture there and get people excited about it, right? Like there's some days I walk in the morning and I don't like the kids' energy, and I'm like, Jay, you're the friggin' head coach. It's your job to create that energy, that atmosphere where, I'll bump the music. They'll come in. I'll just roll a football to them just to get the energy going the minute they walk in the door. Like I went up to UMass Amherst, and the thing that I was most impressed with is during their spring ball, the minute those kids walk in the bubble, one of their grad assistants is firing a football at them, whether they're a lineman, kicker, and they're grabbing the ball and they're running, or they're like, the minute you walk in, you're expected to be going. You're not walking in like tying your shoe, like you're ready to go. They have music playing, techno, trance. The energy is just nonstop.
Right. That's great.
And it's contagious.
Yeah. You feel like you're already ready to run out there, right? Pact Performance, that is your company, right? You talk about, you've been 5 years now, it's been running, but you also are doing on-field workouts that started this week.
Last night,
right? Out there in Lawrence?
Yep.
In Lawrence, right? How?
God's country, baby.
Right. First of all, how many kids did actually showed up for this one?
We have 96 kids signed up for our high school program, and right now about 40 for our middle school program.
And those are kind of the ones, those middle schoolers, that's kind of those ones you kind of want to hone in on, because looking forward and seeing if they do come to you or wherever they go, there's like those that are interested at that point. You got to start understanding it if you do want to play, because some people want to play right away when they get to high school, right? So well, what better way to give yourself a chance to get on the varsity field than to just learn from the varsity players and the varsity coach?
Yep. So, we started that, and our niche has always been our high school program, and then the player development, the skills. We also do strength and conditioning. We have a lot going on. So most of the time I get phone calls, people are like, what is this? Because I see 4 different things, and it's like, I think our bread and butter is our player development, and our football field sessions is extremely unique because we have offensive linemen, defensive linemen there, and then it's a full-fledged camp, 7-on-7s, 1-on-1s. We do competes. So you have two coaching positions per group. And my best friend, who's North Andover's head coach, who we're going to be going head-to-head on Thanksgiving, he has been with me in Pact Performance for 5 years. I remember 3 years ago, he's like, why don't we just bring the linemen into the field sessions too? Because they never have a place to go, the linemen. There's a ton of 7-on-7 camps, but the linemen are just kind of expected to do their own thing. And I have some really good lineman developers. Coach Brandon Santel was coaching my defensive line. He was a star at Assumption. Coach Peter Clifford, captain at Michigan State. He's my O-line coach. He's been with Pact Performance for 4 years. He's developing. Coach Cooperstein's a player at Union College. He comes back, helps out. I had Coach Osho, who's at Bentley College. He was a starter at UNH, so the linemen get a lot of work. We do one-on-ones. We do competes. And, again, bringing kids from different areas together and getting them to compete. They want to rip each other's head off in the fall, but it's good. Everyone works harder, and it makes the coaches work harder, too.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Iron sharpening iron, that's a great thing. And it's also good just to have those kids, especially with summer coming around, school's about to be out, for them to have something for them to get better at and just to keep them busy during the summertime.
Yep.
That's always a great thing. We got like 5 minutes left, so we got to talk a little bit about the pros. And just your thoughts going into this football season with the New England Patriots. Drake May, he's going second year. They made some moves. They got him some weapons. New coach. They were busy in the free agency, right? What do you think about the Patriots this upcoming season?
Brand new head coach, new culture, right? He's going to put his spin on things. I mean, I think people are excited about the direction they've gone. And what do you think? You think he's the guy?
Well, he's proven he's a good coach. He's proven at Tennessee he's a good coach. He still has his flaws as a head coach, but he's proven he'll put a competitive team out there. And it all depends. It's all dependent on the development of Drake May. I think the biggest difference with him and Mac Jones is I think he has a lot more confidence than him. Like if he does mess up, he just okay, whatever. I'm on to the next play. But Mac Jones, it felt like he always let it linger.
Well, we can't crown him just yet, right? Because Mac Jones had a decent rookie year too, right?
Yeah, but I was never a Mac Jones fan because, all right, when they drafted him, I said, all right, it's a lot easier to throw it to guys who get wide open every time, like he did at Alabama, because those guys were just wide open. It was kind of ridiculous, the receiving core he's at. Now can you throw guys open in the NFL? And, Mac Jones had his issues. But and the weapons now I think are a lot better than what Mac Jones was surrounded by. I think Stephon Diggs, even though he's coming off a ACL injury, I think he'll be good. He's a veteran receiver. They got the running game is going to be key for them. So all they got to do is protect him. That's the big thing. I think last year they couldn't protect the quarterback. This year
they got him some protection, right? First round, yeah. It's the toughest position though, really, with the quarterbacks. How many good quarterbacks have been drafted, and you're like, oh, what happened to that guy?
Right.
Brandon Weeden, all these guys, Blake Bortles, all these quarterbacks that have come and gone. It's a tough position to.
Even if you look at Trevor Lawrence now, at this point in his career, he was, the grade he had one of the highest grades coming into the league, and one playoff season, and it's kind of regressed. So, yeah, it's hard.
Defenses are so smart now. Yeah. Coaches are so smart.
Yeah, but we'll see. I have good. I think we
were spoiled for so many years, and I don't think we knew how hard we were going to fall. Right? Spoiled.
Spoiled. Right,
decades, right? A decade and a half at least.
Yeah, we kind of saw these last couple of years how Brady made up for a lot of deficiencies.
Took pay cuts, right? How many times 1 year we got there with Caldwell as our number one weapon, right? And Brady just gets us in the AFC Championship or gets us to another Super Bowl.
Right. So I'm interested to see. But I think this Patriots team will be competitive. I think there'll be a lot
playoffs.
Looking at their schedule, they should be a playoff team. They should be.
We're gonna come back to this and see.
Yeah, they should be a playoff team. I could see 10, 11. I could see 10 wins. Last year I couldn't see 10 wins, but this year I could see 10 wins. But that's why they
over under 10. Okay. Over under 9. Okay. You got them over. Okay.
I got them over 9. The Jets. That should be 2 wins right there. The Dolphins, they could split those games, but they could easily sweep it. But it just depends which Dolphin team shows up when they play them. And then the Bills, that's right now they're the top of the AFC East, but they
got to get over the hump.
I don't think they ever will. I think last year was their best chance. The Bills.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll.
A lot of criticism comes to them, and it's do you forget who you were too? Right? You went 14 years without winning a playoff game, and now they're fire everybody.
Yeah.
This guy's not the quarterback. It's you went 14 years without a playoff game.
They should just be happy.
Same thing with the Bengals, right? It's how many years did they hadn't won one since '91 before.
Yeah.
a couple years ago, and now people forget.
Yeah, it's just enjoy that you got a competitive team because, as you said, you haven't won in a while, in forever. Please make sure you plug in your social media website if they want to get in contact, if they want to know more about Pact Performance, plug that.
Yeah, our Instagram's at Pact Performance, pactperformance.com. And you can find all our information, all our content on there. We always tell the parents, do your research. There's a lot of stuff out there, but make sure you do your research with everything. And again, thanks for having us. And honestly, thank you for coming down, covering the Merrimack Valley Showcase.
I had a blast at the Merrimack Valley Showcase. And also, I got free food.
How was it? Good?
Hey,
it was all free. Gone. The coaches were upset after. I said, listen, man, the colleges eat first.
It was free.
College and social media and all the videographers.
I don't complain about free food.
Next year, we'll have steak tips for you.
Hey, man, you bring steak.
All right, put it on the marinated steak tips.
Y'all been watching +1. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen.